Colleen, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us. Now, you're pretty unique on the men's series. You know, we have two ladies on the men's series, so you're under an enormous amount of pressure. What do you do in day-to-day job as a family therapist? What does that look like?
I'm a psychologist, family therapist in private practice over in Maryland, so I see a whole range of individuals, couples and families. So my job is basically a lot of talking. OK, good. Well, you're perfect for this show. You'll be fantastic. Give us a bit of a picture of the stages, because you know that, I mean, I guess you reflect on being a parent for a while and you realise you sort of go through different stages. You obviously deal with them in different stages. What are the stages that families, fathers, dads go through? OK, there's probably three key phases for parenting. Is the toddler phase, and that's our kids, preschool kids, like babies before they start school. And then you've got your school age, the primary age kids, and then teenagers. So that's kind of the three stages. Right. I'll just say a couple of things about
absolutely.
Each one. OK, we often think that the toddler stage should be the happy, cutesy phase of looking after little babies, and they're so lovely. But the scary thing about that phase is in that period, families with kids, toddler kids, that's when divorces reach a peak, separations reach a peak, adultery reaches a peak, and that's when the majority of people who come to counselling are in that phase. Now, that's quite scary.
Mate, I'll say. Is there anything, you're going to go on to say, what is it that brings those things to a peak in that period of time?
I think it's the unpreparedness. We think that we know what having kids is going to be all about, but I think it's quite a huge shock to the system. It's that change factor, the lack of sleep, the lack of life as you used to know it. Getting adjusted to the new normal is quite challenging.
Al, I can remember feeling completely useless at that stage. I don't think I was actually much better at the others, but even then, I was kind of... Was it surprising for you?
Yeah, it's just kind of overwhelming. We ended up with 4 kids under 8. And it's just full on. I used to wish sometimes you just take the batteries out of them, just sit them on the shelf, but you can't do that. It never stops. And your wife becomes a mum, and there's just so many different things and pressures on her, and and so, it's survival mode, really. And
praise God they grow up a little. So you move out of that into what's the next one like for us, Colleen?
OK, the next phase, when the kids start going to school, we're pretty well adjusted to the fact that it's the new normal. Most of us have gotten over the toddler stuff. With the toddlers, 3 times the rate of mental health issues when you've got toddlers as well, just to add to the value of that. So primary age kids, lots of driving around. Our life starts to revolve around our kids and their activities. And kids in that age are also starting to make decisions in their thinking, and so that's when the challenging and the debates about the things that mum and dad are wanting them to do starts. OK, and then we move into the glorious and fantastic release of the teenage years. Yes, but the interesting thing about the adolescent years is 10% of our teenagers go off the rails. 90% of our teenagers actually fare really well. I think part of the challenge for us as parents is we're stuck in this sandwich where our kids are wanting their independence, but we've also got our own parents now becoming dependent. So we've got all sorts of midlife crisis, ageing, looking at our own mortality, all sorts of issues blend in when the kids hit adolescence. This is kind of a hopefully not too tough a question for you. If you were to say for men as dads in each of those stages, so toddler stage, what's the key thing for them? Don't give us too many, we'll lose count after 2. Okay. So just, what is the key thing for a dad then? Well, probably a couple of things, but I think the absolute key one comes from Proverbs, which talks about train up a child in the way he should go. When he's old, he won't depart from it. And the key thing in that isn't so much about what we say to our kids. The primary teaching tool that we have is who we are and how we live our lives. And so it's role modelling. Our kids are watching us 24/7. They're watching how we respond in relationships, how we deal with anger, how we deal with disappointment and frustration, etc. So we're talking about toddlers then? Every age. Yeah, OK. Every age. Okay. You know, toddlers have twice the synaptic density of an adult. So that's why it's why. Synaptic density. Just for only twice the same. So their brain capacity, their ability, their enthusiasm to learn, it's like a sponge. And the other thing is consistency. OK. That we need to follow through, we need to say it and mean it. We need to keep our word, be people of honesty and integrity. Why do you think that parents aren't consistent? Because you go out and
the shopping centre and there'll be, if you do that one more time, if you do that one more time. I'm almost want to get up from where I'm sitting to walk over and sort it out because it's driving me nuts. But why do parents function like that? Why do they do the one more time and don't kind of act?
Because it's really hard and it's really exhausting. But a scary thing with that, the more we give in to our kids, the more we're teaching them that we'll give in. And so the more they're going to persist in hounding us.
Okay.
But yeah, it's hard work.
Moving into that sort of teenage years, are there some kind of, other than what you've been saying about modelling, etc., are there some very specific things about that period of time that is helpful for a dad?
Consistent and clear communication. I mean, we don't want to exasperate our kids and we don't want to give them the long lecture. Teenagers don't cope with long lectures. They just start tuning out, so less is more. If we can have clean and clear communication with our teenagers, and we need to have established the foundation for that during their primary years, so that by the time they hit adolescence, they're still listening. We still have respect from them. Okay, so
what are the keys or cues about how do you build that listening relationship? Is there anything that helps that? I mean, if you feel like it, you know, I actually remember my wife sending our son off to get his ears tested. Apparently there was absolutely nothing wrong with his hearing at the time. It was something wrong with his reacting time. But so what are the keys about getting them to listen or having your kids listen to you?
It's building time with our kids. One of the things that is chronic, particularly in the Christian community, is something called hurry sickness. We're so busy out there in the world, involved in church, involved in very good things, but we're having less and less time at home with the people that we love and that we care about. Love takes time, and so we need to have dedicated time committed to be spending with our kids so that they know that they're worth it, that they feel valued, that they feel loved and important.
Yep. Al, for those, you know, those period of time where you had 4 kids under 8, what were the ways that you built some time in there?
I think I've got to fess up that I've often been too busy and had too much on. Once again, I used to schedule time with the kids. I would take the girls, I've got 3 daughters and a son, I'd actually schedule in time breakfast with Dad. So they got, for the older 2, I'd take them to Macca's for breakfast and then take them to school. Do that once every 3 weeks. We've had some bracket creep with our youngest. When I'd say breakfast, she'd say fine. I'd say McDonald's, and ew. So it was breakfast at a cafe that cost 3 times as much. But but that works. Even just scheduling special time with Dad, that kind of thing.
Now, if we're looking at children across the stages or even in each of them, what are the kind of key needs that kids need? What are they looking for?
Oh, we can probably divide that into 4 key things. First one is love and security. Now that's about boundaries. That isn't just about giving into our kids and lots of cuddles and kisses. It's about boundaries and knowing what the limits are. And that needs to be consistent, and then kids feel safe. And that safety builds relationship. Probably the second thing is kids need new experiences. So they need to be involved in activities. New experiences, it's the building block of good mental health. But that doesn't mean indulging kids with just soccer and netball and dancing. They also need to be exposed to visiting the old folks' home or the oncology unit or getting involved in some of the charity organisations. Kids need praise and recognition. Now, this one's really important. Huge research says that the #1 drug-proofing strategy that exists is kids being recognised and validated, seen as worthwhile in their own homes. That's amazing research. And the last one is responsibility. Kids need that. Lazy kids aren't happy kids. We need to train them up to be responsible.
I've heard that said that this generation of children, like the millennials and those a bit younger, are called I heard somebody refer to them as the trophy generation. It's a generation that got a trophy just for turning up. Yes. You didn't actually have to achieve anything, you got a trophy. Where does that fit in with the praise and recognition thing? Can you overdo that?
Absolutely. Praise and recognition needs to be genuine, it needs to be earned, and it needs to be acknowledging hard work and success and perseverance and resilience, not just praising up because they turned up at soccer. Okay,
yep. What about later? You know, they get into 20 and they leave, is that what's happening?
Some of us might wish that was what would happen. The average...
Not that we'd say that out loud.
No, the average age, this is scary, the average age for kids leaving home in Australia now is 30. Oh. So...
Let's just have a quiet moment. 30.
And it doesn't end there, because then they come back with their wives and dogs and kids and while they're saving up for the house.
Okay, Al.
So can I ask you, is that just economic? They reckon you can't afford a place to live. Is that mainly?
It's largely economic, but it also harks back to what you were saying about the trophy kids. Our kids are a bit indulged in this current generation. They've been called the what's in it for me generation, so it's pretty comfortable at home. Plus, yes, economics, it's expensive moving out, but mums and dads are very happy to keep them there.
So love them, care for them, look after them, reinforce them, and after 20, just be awful. So they leave. Is that it?
No. They'll still hang around. They'll just hope that you'll get over it.
So you still have a role with kids when they get into their 20s, don't you?
Absolutely. Hopefully that you've built a really good mentor, peer, love-bonded relationship where you've earned respect and you're the primary role model for them of how to be a man, and for the daughters, what they should be expecting from a man.
Fantastic. This is the men's series. We were talking to Colleen Hirst. Don't go just yet with all of that bad news. There's plenty more input we're going to have. We'll be back in a moment.